got you dead in them. They're perfect. I love you.
Love you too.
Saturday night at Pacemakers, Billy ends up in the final in his S10, facing down none other than Perry Stanley in that big block twin turbo Nova. Now, we've raced Perry I don't know how many times, and it's usually either in the semis or the finals, and Perry has beaten us every single time. The little small block S10 generally is out on Perry at 60 and 330 feet, but the big block comes around us. And this time, Billy was out on him almost the entire way until his ignition system cut out and the truck laid over at the finish line. Now, we've known for a long time that we're pushing the limits of what this 6AL2 programmable ignition box can handle, especially being on methanol. So, since No Prep Kings is this coming weekend and Billy's Nova isn't done, Billy's decided that now is the time to upgrade the ignition system. So we run into Jegs and see Miss Kimmy and hang out for a little bit while the guys pull some parts for us. And they've got a new counter employee, evidently, who's filling in for Uncle Terry, since it's Memorial Day and Terry's not working. And unfortunately, they didn't have everything we needed at 11th Avenue this time, so we had to make a trip up to Delaware. And since it's such a nice day out, we decided to take the scenic route up 315 to the warehouse. After talking to Chief a little bit about the ignition system problems, which he's warned us about for a long time, Billy decided to upgrade the ignition system to an MSD grid. So we picked that stuff up at the warehouse and we head back to the shop. I'm hoping by the time we get back, my brother's made some progress on Billy's Nova. He was wanting to put the grill in it today, but he's missing some parts, and I told him, just go ahead and borrow them off my car if you need something.
Kill.
I'm surprised you ever made it down the track.
What are you talking about?
Your Nova's held together with 2 cell tappers, a zip tie, and 1 bolt.
So evidently while we were gone, Jeremy had to pump the tire up on the back of my Nova to roll it back away from the wall so he could rob some parts out of the front end of it. The grill brackets, and a few other odds and ends were needed to put Billy's car together so we can put it out on display this weekend at No Prep Kings. Once Jeremy robbed the parts off, Kenny sprayed them black, and Jeremy came in and explained to Billy how the front end needs to go together and what his plans are to make this front end all come off as one piece, including the front bumper. After we finished up on Billy's Nova for the day, we had dinner, and then I loaded up some electrical tools, terminals, heat shrink, and a few other little supplies, and drove over to Billy's shop to help him get this ignition system transferred over from the 6AL2 to the new grid system, an MSD 8 box. Billy and I worked in the shop until about midnight when he figured out that he had some things missing that he needs to go to Summit for tomorrow. So when I headed home, I stopped by Tommy's house for a few minutes to visit with him, check out his shop, and asked Tommy if he needed anything first thing in the morning at A1, because I've got a list of things I need to pick up down there for Billy. You got any good stories for me today?
Well, you know, none that you would probably believe if you didn't see it.
I bet my brother's been here already.
Oh yeah, he's been here, having a bound in it.
So Mark starts telling me that Jeremy's been down here and sprayed spray paint all over the store. What the hell is he doing spraying spray paint in the store?
He cleaned it up. He took the cap off and then just started spraying it. And then he said it was the can, and you know.
My brother did this?
He did. He said that was factory defect. But I think it's when he ripped the cap off to the side.
The one thing about Jeremy, when he makes a mistake, it's everyone's fault but his.
What kind of defective stuff are you trying to sell me?
Well,
you give me exploded cans.
Look at that. That's.
Look at my.
I think you bent it. You bent it.
What the car silver, not me.
Think it was packaged that way, or
defective?
Was it Uncle Bucko?
No.
So the can of spray paint Jeremy was trying to get was silver to paint this plastic filler panel on the front of the Nova.
When you come to A1 Auto Parts and ask for paint cans, this is the equipment you need to use because they might blow up on you.
It's probably a good idea Jeremy wears this army helmet when he comes in because Mark's ready to kill him. And then I find out they're giving him tips on how to do TicToc videos.
Oh, I showed you on TicToc today how to use voiceover instead of the pre-made sounds because he was complaining about it.
My brother?
Yes, your brother.
Dude, don't teach him how to speak to the world. We don't need that. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that, Tyler. So Tyler kind of piqued my interest. So I had to go check out Jeremy's TicToc.
much, 'cause I don't have superpowers. You need to pay for my skills, 'cause exposure does.
I can't take any more. When Jeremy rolled in here about 20 minutes later, I decided to light a fire under his butt because we need to get this Nova done, and he's dragging. You've got a TicToc?
I've had a TicToc. What about it? You're going to be on it here soon.
You better be making some progress on this thing pretty soon, Slim Shady.
There is progress.
Ain't even
The
close.
headlight buckets are mounted, the grill mounts are in.
That was
the
done
grill's
yesterday.
fucking painted. I had to repaint the rear blower valance. Somebody didn't use primer on it, so when they sprayed it, it looked like a leopard.
I got a feeling this is going to get drug out to the last minute and then be a major rush to try and get it to No Prep Kings. Anyway, a few minutes later, our UPS driver pulls in.
You got a bunch.
I know. Thank goodness.
We've been waiting for quite a while on this load of merch because Gina's backed up so bad down in Kentucky. She's like 3 or 4 weeks out on shirt orders right now. So luckily this order came in just in time for No Prep Kings. Jeremy and I had helped unload the truck, and the dogs helped themselves to some dog treats before our UPS guy took off. It was about that time Miss Harley showed up, and it was a good thing because we've got all these boxes full of merch that needed to be sorted, folded, put on the shelves, or in some totes so we can take the stuff to No Prep Kings. So while Miss Harley's working on that stuff in the office, I decided it's time to get this carburetor pulled off the Malibu so I can get it shipped out to the giveaway winner down in Baytown, Texas. So I pull off the carburetor, take it in the shop, remove the fuel fittings, put them on the new carburetor, and set the new carburetor down on the intake manifold. And I definitely want to get this air conditioning working today. Tess and Tony are going to be here Thursday, and I want to make sure it's ready for them to use while they're here in town. So Jeremy goes ahead and helps me get the system wired and ready to go, pulls vacuum on the system and checks for leaks, and then we fire up the Malibu and start filling the system with refrigerant. Once the compressor kicked on, it didn't take long, and we started to have some cooler air blowing through the vents in the car. Jeremy carefully monitors the system, and a few minutes later, ice cold air, and June Pup is ready to go for a ride. The interior was pretty hot when we left the driveway, so June Pup had her nose right in that vent, but the air got pretty cold and she got comfortable a few minutes later. Anyway, we headed back to the shop to check in on Miss Harley, who had everything folded and sorted and put away before she left for the day. Anyway, after dinner, it was time for me to head down to Billy's shop to help him work on the S10. He had made a trip all the way up to Summit today to pick up parts that Jegs didn't have, and he was pretty late getting back. But there's one other thing I wanted to make sure we got taken care of this evening before we got too busy working on the truck. Uncle Rob is back in the hospital. Due to some complications with his surgery, he had to go back to the hospital and be put on antibiotics. And Billy and I wanted to go in and see him tonight before we got too busy working on the truck. So we hung out with Robbie for a little while and teased him a little bit about his bed apparatus he's laying in. Wait a minute. Does that mean you shit the bed?
No.
That looks like shit the bed. I don't know, man. You can tell us, Uncle Rob. If you shit the bed, it's okay. We'll get out of here. We hung out with Robbie for a little while until the nurse came in and gave him a sleeping pill for the night, and then we decided to let him get some rest. And we went back to the shop to dig in and get started on this ignition system installation. This is our first time installing a grid, and we quickly realized there was a few more things that we needed from Jegs before we could finish the installation. But we could at least get the truck fired up tonight, check the two-step, the rev limiters, and make sure that everything was wired right. But unfortunately, the battery was dead by the time we were ready to try and start it.
Did try to fire.
We had forgot the 16-volt battery charger back at my shop. So me and Billy rode back, picked up the battery charger, and June Pup, who refused to let me leave the house without her.
What'd you say? I think it's gonna
Billy noticed as soon as the truck fired up is that the ignition system seems to have cleaned up the tune, and the idle is a little bit higher, a little bit cleaner, and the throttle response is much better. So far, the only problem is that the two-step didn't work, but it didn't take long for us to figure out the problem with that. Once I corrected that situation, we went ahead and jacked the truck up to pull the wheels off so we could switch slicks out tomorrow. We've got Hoosiers on the truck right now, but at trails we want to be on Mickey Thompson's. All right, guys, so it is 4:14 a.m. Wednesday morning. We've got the wheels and tires off the S10 in the back of Vicky's truck. I'll either take those to Jegs, have them swapped tomorrow, or Kenny can do them at our shop. I'm not sure if Kenny's going to have time to do it. Tomorrow, I've got to wire up a relay to reverse polarity for the fuel pump activation wire so that the Aeromotive 10-gallon per minute pump will run at high speed once the engine comes up on boost. I got to get that done for him tomorrow. We've got to fill the CO2 bottles for both the truck and the Falcon. I've got those in the truck. We've got a few things we need to pick up at Jegs: a CAN bus hub, a legacy cable if they've got some 3000 and 8. Well, we've got an 8000 series chip. We need a set of 4000 and 3000 series RPM chips. I don't know. I've got a whole list and I'm tired. I can't hardly remember it all, but we're just about ready. We've got the two-step figured out. It turns out that we needed to run another wire over to the 8+ box so that the 8+ box would switch internally from the high side to the low side chip. We didn't have that hooked up, so that's why the two-step didn't work. Once we got that wire hooked up and we put chips in it, the two-step works perfect. So we're getting close. We're getting real close. Billy's Nova is scheduled to go to Lucor Automotive tomorrow, and he's going to get an alignment done on the Nova. So poor old Uncle Bucko, I messaged him at 1:30 in the morning. I said, hey, we got to have that bumper and grill and everything finished up by noon tomorrow so that we can have the Nova loaded on the trailer and headed to Lucor at lunchtime. I'm going to go home and finish editing this video and hopefully get it uploaded. I've still got to do a thumbnail photo, and I've still got to do some editing and some voiceover, so I'm going to go home and get that done, and then hopefully I'll be able to take a nap sometime this morning between 6 and noon, and then I'll head back to Jegs and go get this stuff, all these parts that we need. I know Junior's pretty tired. Let's go check in with him. Thank you. All right. What do you think? This thing feels pretty low.
Yeah.
That don't feel like there's hardly anything left in it.
Yeah, it's filled. I mean, we made good progress the last 2 days. We pretty much took a truck that had a 6AO and we switched it over to that 8 box.
And a grid.
With the grid, and it runs. Now we just need to make it fully functional. We got to get that CAN bus hub.
Yep.
Didn't think we needed that, but
I'm gonna try and get you a legacy cable. If they've got one, I'll get one.
yeah, I didn't even know what a legacy cable was.
Well, I didn't either. I didn't know what a grid was. I didn't know shit about that. The only thing I've ever had is a 6AL box.
Yeah.
So we got the ignition system wired. It sounds really good, right? It sounds really crisp.
Responsive. It seems really responsive.
Now, one thing I do want to do you have a timing light here?
Yeah, I think so.
Tomorrow, I want to fire it up and check ignition timing just to make sure, because anytime you change an ignition box, you definitely want to go back over it and just check your initial timing so that you know where you're at for sure. Because I've seen boxes change the timing a few degrees here and there. So, we got your tires loaded up. We're going on Mickey's.
Go ahead and get some header gaskets while you're there too.
Header gaskets? Yeah, because you got one ticking over there on that side.
I'd like to just do them silicone, but I don't know if I have time to do that. Might just try to slide one in it.
All right. Oh, God. It's about 4:30 in the morning now, and we're both tarred. You ready to go home? Yeah. I'm ready to go home. June Pup's ready to go home, aren't you, baby? You ready to go home? All right, let's go.